verse of the day, Mark 9:23. Everything is possible for one who believes. You have to have strong faith, strong passionate belief behind the pursuit on your journey. So even in the times where things are not going your way, even in the times where things may seem uncertain, even in the times where it's not a clear path ahead, you still have strong faith to keep you going and keep you consistent in the process of achieving and going through the motion to pursue. Because without that faith and without that belief or without that mentality, you can get lost and lose hope really quickly. And it can be discouraging and it can be very dismantling to your path and your journey that God has you on. So you have to keep that faith strong and keep that belief strong, really strong, and hold on to that throughout your journey. With that being said, let's recap our trades that we took this week and then go over our watch list for next week. All right, you guys, so here we have the QQQ chart loading on the 15-minute time frame. And once we set up our orb level here, we just went ahead and took a rejection play midway on this candle here at the 607.73 level. That was the level that needed to be watched going into this week because it was the previous high that was not broken. Once we got the rejection off 608, we just looked for an entry around there. It was a nice trend that was holding below there, so we went ahead and took it. We caught the move back down to 606, and once we caught that move, we got in and out of that play. Very simple move, very simple trade. Not too much overthinking that trade. It was kind of defined risk in that trade, so we just didn't want to be in it too long. Honestly, once we hit our target, we got out of it and moved on. So that was Monday. Very quick and easy. So let's move on to Tuesday. All right, you guys, so here we have the Tuesday chart loading, and now we're on the SPY chart 15-minute time frame. On SPY, we took 2 trades on Tuesday, and we were able to make money on both plays. So the first play we took was right around 10 o'clock. We got in once we rejected all the way back down to 670. We took a 670 rejection back down into 667. And then later in the day, we caught a bounce off of 667 back into 669. We were able to catch that move as well later in the day. So that was a very good executed day. Well-defined levels on both trades because we got in right around 670, so we didn't have too much risk in between the trade on the puts. And then we caught the flip side going into the calls later in the day from 667, so we didn't have too much risk. But a lot more reward on each of those trades. So I was very happy with my execution on both those plays. But then we hit Wednesday, and that's where things got a little shaky. So let's move on to Wednesday. Here we have the Wednesday charts. So Wednesday started off really, really smooth. And honestly, I should have been one and done on Wednesday. Knowing me, whenever I have extra capital or just liquidity available in my account, I try to trade, if not majority of it, because it's an account that is specifically for day trading. I try to liquidate that whole account that day just to see what I maximize my value, pretty much. So just trying to maximize my value as much as I can each and every day to get the best returns I can throughout the day. So the first trade we took, we used a little bit of equity that we had in the account, got a rejection here off of the orb high level, back down to the orb low level. Then we bounced off the orb low level and broke above orb high, and we were in an uptrend for the rest of the day essentially. And so I tried to take rejections later in the day around this 673 level here once we got there, but I missed the initial entry at 673, and I got in around 672.5, 672.6, but I had a really tight stop loss due to the fact that we were in an uptrend. I didn't want to risk too much on this trade. I was trading 0-day expired contracts, and these contracts were decaying like crazy because it was after 1 o'clock, which typically means that a 0-day to expire contract is more risky because you need volume at that point. Anytime there's less than 2 to 3 hours left in the market, you want to have more time on your contracts to play out. That way, if there's no volume, your contract is still holding their value. With 0 days, your contracts don't hold their value. And so that's what was happening to me. I was getting chopped out and decayed out of a lot of my plays on Wednesday, and I gave back some gains from not only Wednesday but from Tuesday as well. So we went back a few steps on Wednesday, unfortunately, because we tried to hit our target on Wednesday. But we lost on Wednesday. We sucked it up and we were like, you know what? Just take a break, recalibrate your mindset and go into Thursday refreshed and rejuvenated and ready to execute. And that's what we did. So let's move on to Thursday. All right, and here we have Thursday's chart loaded on the SPY chart, 15-minute time frame. And we executed with efficiency and very high IQ on Thursday. So the market opened above our previous day high, which was 673, which was also the all-time high at the time. 673, we rejected off 673, and we actually opened at 674, and then we rejected off 674 back below 673. And so I got right back in it. So I said, okay, cool, I'm gonna take a position here. We set up an orb low. I took a position at the orb low. I added once we reached back to the previous all-time high, which was 673.1. I knew that was my risk for the trade, and I had a set stop loss at that point. We immediately reversed that candle and went all the way back down to 670 within the next hour. We ranged between 670 and 672, and then we finally broke 670. We went back down to 669, and then we closed out the day around 670. So we had a very, very well executed day on the 673 level. We were able to catch it early, beginning of the day pretty much, and ride it out all day long, all the way to the downside. We made back the loss that we had on Wednesday, plus new gains that we had on Thursday. But Friday hit us, and Friday hit us with a surprise. So let's talk about Friday. All right, you guys, so here we have the SPY chart loaded on the 4-hour time frame. And man, you guys see here, we had that very, very, very aggressive sell come in on Friday from 674 all the way back down to 646, but closing out the day at 652. So what can we look to see going into next week? So since we had this major sellout, we want to see where the market opens going into tomorrow, which is Monday, and depending on where the market opens, we can either look for one or two things to happen. The two levels that I see right now, if we can open above 652 or 650 in between that range, or if we open around 640, I would say those are the two levels that I'm looking to see a reaction from going into tomorrow, because we look to have a slight reaction off of that 650 level. We closed above it. We wicked below it, but we closed above 650. So I do consider that a level of demand going into this week. And then another level of demand that I see is around 641.50. That would be the next level of demand if we happen to fail 650. And then the levels of resistance that I look to see are 658 to 663. Those are the levels of resistance I have in my chart. So if we're able to hold this 650, then we could possibly see a move back up to 658. And determining upon whether we reject, we can look for rejections from 658 back down to 650. Or if we break 650, we can look for a breakout move up back to the upside of 663 if we happen to hold this 650 level. However, if we fail 650, we can most certainly see 641.50 sometime this week. So those would be the two levels that I'd be looking to watch. To the downside would be 650 if we hold or break 650, and then 641.50 if we hold or break that, depending on where we open. Or to the upside, 658 or 663 would be the two levels to the upside that I'd be watching going into this week. So those are the levels that I have to start out the week. You guys want to be mindful. This is our first correction in a long time, first strong correction in a long time. So just be mindful trading this week. If you guys are looking to buy shares, this is probably a good time to start getting ready to buy some shares of companies. There will be more opportunity probably flowing into the market now that we're starting to see some pullbacks come in. So don't look at this as a bad thing. Corrections are needed, and pullbacks are needed for the market to cool off a little bit, just to regain some steam and push back to the upside. So don't get discouraged. It's not a crash. It's not nothing crazy like that. It's just one of those moments where, some bad news came out, the market reacted, and we just monitor the situation accordingly. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.